Hey friends, it's still really cold in Nashville. I'm just here trying to manifest all the hot that I can. We finished up the Bell Jar last night and talked about it at book club, and I wanted to read a poem that it made me think of. Oftentimes, Sylvia Plath talks about her depression as if it were another person, and she has these rigid standards of perfection that she's always applying to herself and everyone around her. No one is ever pure and good enough, and it's pretty easy to understand how that was given the society at the time, which is still, I mean, it's similar in some ways. In fact, we're like, yeah, it's we won't go into that, but I did want to share a quote that I wrote at the beginning, and I just want to say, if you have a problem with me, you like it seems like, I think a lot of people believe this, that it is a very privileged white woman's account of being in a private institution, but I also think that it's a very accurate portrayal emotionally of what can happen. Like, you know, people study from a textbook perspective mental illness, and this is like the emotions, feelings component of what that can look like. And so I think it's important. And so it's a Zora Neale Hurston quote. If you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. And so if anything, that this is a worthwhile testament to the fact that this woman valued writing, and she cared so much about it, and she was so good. I mean, that was just, this is such a beautiful text. And I've always been way more familiar with Sylvia Plath's poetry because I've just read more poetry than I have fiction. But this was my third time to reread this, and I'm really glad that I did at this point in my life. I think it was really helpful for me, and to just be able to see myself outside of some of these things that I think, 10 years ago, it would have been even more difficult to like read, right? But yeah, what Sylvia Plath does is she is looking for like a sisterhood, that feels like. And so there's a character in the Bell Jar, and I asked the group, I was like, do you think she's just made up because she like had dated the same guy? It could easily be like a Fight Club situation, right? If you were a 90s kid, you know about that. But anyway, this poem is an example of that. And a beautiful thing about reading the Bell Jar was seeing all these little portions of poems, or like ideas of where some of those ideas came from. She loves people eating peanuts. It's just a thing that I noticed. But anyway, this is called In Plaster, and it was written in February of 1961, which is 2 years before she died. So, in Plaster. I shall never get out of this. There are two of me now. This absolutely white person and the old yellow one. And the white person is certainly the superior one. She doesn't need food. She's one of the real saints. At the beginning, I hated her. She had no personality. She lay in bed with me like a dead body, and I was scared because she was shaped just the way I was. Only much whiter and unbreakable and with no complaints. I couldn't sleep for a week, she was so cold. I blamed her for everything, but she didn't answer. I couldn't understand her stupid behavior. When I hit her, she held still like a true pacifist. Then I realized what she wanted was for me to love her. She began to warm up, and I saw her advantages. Without me, she wouldn't exist, so of course she was grateful. I gave her a soul. I bloomed out of her as a rose blooms out of a vase of not very valuable porcelain. And it was I who attracted everybody's attention, not her whiteness and beauty, as I had first supposed. I patronized her a little, and she lapped it up. You could tell almost at once she had a slave mentality. I didn't mind her waiting on me, and she adored it. In the morning, she woke me early, reflecting the sun from her amazingly white torso. And I couldn't help but notice her tidiness and her calmness and her patience. She humored my weakness like the best of nurses, holding my bones in place so they would mend properly. In time, our relationship grew more intense. She stopped fitting me so closely and seemed offish. I felt her criticizing me in spite of herself, as if my habits offended her in some way. She let in the drafts and became more and more absent-minded, and my skin itched and flaked away in soft pieces, simply because she looked after me so badly. Then I saw what the trouble was. She thought she was immortal. She wanted to leave me. She thought she was superior, and I've been keeping her in the dark, and she was resentful, wasting her days waiting on a half corpse. And secretly, she began to hope I'd die. Then she could cover my mouth and eyes, cover me entirely, and wear my painted face the way a mummy case wears the face of a pharaoh, though it's made of mud and water. I wasn't in any position to get rid of her. She supported me for so long, I was quite limp. I had even forgotten how to walk or sit. So I was careful not to upset her in any way, or brag ahead of time how I'd avenge myself. Living with her was like living with my own coffin, yet I still depended on her, though I did it regretfully. I used to think we might make a go of it together. After all, it was a kind of marriage, being so close. Now I see it must be one or the other of us. She may be a saint and I may be ugly and hairy, but she'll soon find out that that doesn't matter a bit. I'm collecting my strength. One day I shall manage without her, and she'll perish with emptiness then and begin to miss me.